It's lonely at the top. Money on my mind. Don't care what they yarning about me in particular. Out here on the road chasing my dream because I know I'm chasing for me. Ololola de mango my love. Orokoto edition my love. If you want to let Jack come alone, need to find anybody na money I want. Not they hear what the people they talk. Want to get a shakeleti love. It's a love and I wanna get another one. I go take and do waiting I love. Waiting you love, oh. No be waiting I love, oh. Waiting I love, I go do one with all my heart, oh. Go no be vodka. Mr. Money Ginger. But when I know the ways that Mr. Money Ginger. Just carry on, there be no time. Bad boy day, me I dey fine. And at the same time, me I dey high. But to the top, stand out, calm down, you go dey fine. Like fine wine, don't decline. Sick about it, extraordinary things. Show me love, I go show you more.
Hello, my name is NKK, and this is your African Home with Seso Global. Seso Global is Africa's most trusted real estate property app. Today, we're in Pokwasi, and I have this beautiful property to show you. Let's take a look inside. Hi, Kofi.
Hi, NKK, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for welcoming us.
Thanks for coming.
So let's look around.
Sure. This is the 2-bedroom bungalow. You're in the main living area.
Yeah. So typically, do the units come furnished or?
They don't, so they're finished. But actually, all the furniture came from Asheville.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so if a person wanted to have their house furnished, they need to go through Asheville.
Yeah, they could get this exact unit fitted out by Asheville. Asheville actually did all the wardrobes and the kitchen cabinets for this unit as well.
Oh, amazing.
Or they can even just go to the showroom and pick out what they want. I went to the showroom with my mother. And she's got an activist cabinet, so she did all of the selection. But I was really impressed because everything's locally produced.
Made in Ghana.
Yeah.
We love that.
Yeah. So that's kind of a theme that we have with this unit. One of the reasons we're able to get the price points at $55,000 is because we buy a lot of the material locally.
Okay.
Yeah. So the tiles are produced in Takrady. Even the T&G on the porch is made locally. The pre-engineered wall panels, it's a company that's like literally 10 minutes away that produces the insulated wall panels that we use. So that actually even drops the temperature.
As well. Yes, I was going to say it's quite cool. Yeah, and there's no excuse.
So typically in construction, what you find is the concrete blocks, they're like a heat sink. They absorb the sun and then radiate heat throughout the unit. So you need like a traditional build in Ghana. It's warm on the inside, you need the AC on the night. But we've also insulated the ceiling, which radiates heat typically. We've also switched out the building material for the roofing sheets.
Okay.
So we've imported a UPVC roofing sheet, which drops the temperature further.
Okay, yeah. So supporting the local industry and also sustainability.
Yeah, absolutely. So any opportunity that we can add any kind of green features, we
okay.
Including all of the concrete work that we make. When we're outside, I'll point out a few features.
So let's see some other rooms then.
Sure, come on in.
So we're in the kitchen now, and I have to tell you, I love the kitchen. I really do love the dark design that created here.
Thank you. You know, it's funny because some people really like the dark color, and other people. So it's interesting.
So typically, most of the units have this dark design, or did they get to choose?
It actually varies between what's available. We're really trying to provide value for money. So we negotiate our level of suppliers, and then once in a while, discount. That's not
Okay. You had mentioned that the kitchen tops were made in Ghana.
Yeah, everything here that you see is from Ashland.
Oh. Yeah.
So I mean, I've always known Ashland as a mattress manufacturer, but they've got a huge line of basically from furniture, sofas, tables, cooktops.
Yeah. So the kitchen also has a storeroom.
Yes.
I think that's typically a little bit different from like other countries where they don't always have a storeroom. So it's quite nice to have that here as well.
I think it's very difficult to sell a house with a kitchen store.
Yeah.
Both the kitchen store and then also a kitchen yard.
Yeah. Oh yes, there is the yard.
Yeah, let me show you. It opens out here. The kitchen yard.
Yeah.
Right off of the kitchen.
Quite a large space too.
Yeah. So the house is designed to be expandable.
Oh, okay.
So we can actually build in another master bedroom off the back.
Lovely. Okay. Great.
So we've completed some of the 3-bedroom units. There's actually no completed 3-bedroom units in phase 2. But in phase 1, I think we built 4. And then 6 in phase 3.
Already, yeah. Nice. Pretty cool. So let's see some more.
Excellent. This is a 2-bedroom unit.
Yeah.
So you've got bedroom 1 over here.
Okay.
Pretty spacious. We've got 2 windows. We've got cross ventilation.
And a lot of lights.
Bottom right.
Like ice cream, as if you mean to be disgusting. It's not enough. Chop my banana.
We've got the powder room here. Right, and it comes with the shower unit. And this serves bedroom 1.
Oh.
And then bedroom 2 has an ensuite bathroom.
Let's check out the bedroom.
Girls from uptown.
So this is bedroom 1. The room. You've also got the 2 windows, so you've got a nice cross ventilation situation.
And a lot of lights.
And it comes with the wardrobe. This is the master bedroom.
Okay, yes, also quite spacious.
Thank you. Yeah, so similar layout, but then you also have the ensuite bathroom over here. And it comes with the shower stall. So this is actually how the house expands. So this can be converted into a little home.
And then bedroom 3.
Yeah, and then we tack on another master bedroom. And then this becomes bedroom 2.
Girls from uptown. That's the life of a city boy. Oh yeah, get them. Oh yeah, get.
This is the water treatment facility. We've got a borehole here that goes down about 100 meters.
Okay, so Kobe, thank you so much for showing us around. Such a beautiful property. So now I just want to get to know you a little bit more. And yeah, just about your journey in Ghana's real estate space, and then we can talk a bit more about the property. So if you would just give us a brief introduction of you and how long you've been in Ghana and how you've come into the property space.
So I've been working in Ghana for probably 25 years. And actually came while I was a student in university. And then after a couple of experiences as a university student, I decided to move here.
Okay. Where were you before?
So I was a student at Columbia University in New York.
Okay, amazing.
And grew up in Ohio.
Okay. Yeah. So how did you get into the real estate space here in Ghana?
So actually both of my parents have always been involved with real estate.
Okay.
My mother has been involved in kind of every aspect of the industry, as somebody who's been an interior designer, property broker, and then also a real estate investor herself.
Okay.
And my father, who's a retired cancer specialist, but he always invested in real estate. He had a pretty big portfolio in South Florida.
Yeah. So that's what led you into this space yourself.
Well, that was kind of more the background,
Yeah.
but in the 90s, he started selling a lot of properties in the U.S. and investing in land in Ghana.
Oh, okay.
Which, as somebody who hadn't grown up here and didn't really understand the dynamics of a developing nation, these lovely, beautiful condos and Marco Island, so I didn't see the vision then when he was buying huge tracts of land here in Pequasi. So, but it's starting to make sense now.
I see. Yeah. So we're sitting in the vision now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So amazing. So actually, yeah, let's talk a little bit more about Pequasi.
Mhm.
Why Pequasi? Like, how have you found building in this area to be? What's that experience been like?
It's both beautiful and challenging. So it's a lovely kind of scenic suburb just outside of Accra. But because of the hills, which gives you the really nice views, it's challenging from an engineering perspective. Because you now have to kind of level the areas and sort out the drainage. So that's been quite demanding. But I've got a fantastic partner who's got incredible wealth of knowledge in engineering. So they've just made it happen.
Okay. So then when did Pequasi Heights begin? What was the story? What started that?
So we have always been looking at the market and trying to figure out how to make houses more affordable. So I think that the price points here are considered moderately priced. I think it's definitely an affordable housing product for the Diaspora.
Yeah.
I think in Ghana, a lot of our salaries are just with people. Your average Ghanaian isn't paid well enough to afford a cash home, kind of befitting to. You just can't. As a developer, it's really difficult.
Yeah.
So I can't think off the top of my head of any developers who've cracked the nut. But what we're doing is we keep trying to make the houses more affordable. So if you saw, we were involved with a property at Imensa, which was more like a $200,000 townhouse unit, which for the quality of product was considered value for money, right? But at the same time, not everybody has $200,000 if they could throw the property in a year.
Yeah.
So when we started this, it was okay. How do we
target?
and it just expand the range of affordability, but still being able to deliver certain quality points.
Okay. So let's talk about price. Tell us about the pricing for the different units available here.
So this starts at 42,000 USD.
Okay.
So what that entails is a shell. Right? So from the outside, the unit looks exactly like this, but then on the inside, it's raw. Right? So it doesn't have the tiling put in place or the wardrobes. All of that is done by the client.
Yeah.
But what we found is that a lot of buyers are just interested in getting on the property ladder in Ghana.
Yeah.
Right, so they're working full time in the UK or in the US, but they want to make sure that a lot of people have missed out on other opportunities.
Yeah.
East Legon 20 years ago was
completely different.
People were just raising cows.
Yeah.
Right, and
now,
everybody has a story. I'm like, oh, my uncle was offered land there, and he turned it down because he's like, why do I need this? I'm not trying to buy a farm, and then they regret not having made that investment. Yeah. So, but land here is tricky, right? And I think a lot of people have been burned investing in land where they find that there are multiple
and all of that. Yes.
Right. So it's kind of a turnkey operation where you can, you've got, and then again in Ghana we build incrementally.
Yeah.
Like most people don't buy houses incrementally. 99% of the market, they're building their own homes. So there are very few Ghanaians who are afraid to lay a few tiles or to install a toilet. Right, so we start at 42. And then if you want this unit, it's 55.
Yeah. This unit specifically is 2-bedroom. Yeah. And then what about for the 3-bedroom?
72.
72. Okay, wonderful. Yeah, really affordable.
Yeah, so they're different on-ramps. Another thing that we did here, which is similar to what we did at Ames Park, was to increase the densities.
Okay.
Right? But we do it in such a way that it doesn't feel cramped.
Yeah.
Right? So like your front wall, you're not talking about like a 7-foot wall. Right? Because it's low, it doesn't feel... it still feels more
There's
spacious.
a lot of air,
Yeah, and then the units are all semi-detached, so you've got a shared wall, right, which allows you to build a little bit closer. And what that gives us is an opportunity to improve the amenities,
Yeah.
right? So the quality of the road, right, the drainage.
Important. So important. Yeah.
Yeah, even the community water supply.
Yeah. Oh, yes, yes, yes. We'll go and look at that in a minute.
Sure.
Yeah. So yes, actually, what happens when it rains?
Interesting, yeah. So you can kind of see the downspouts on all the houses, right? So you've got that channel, and we've actually produced our own V drains on site.
Wow.
So you've got the V drain, but interesting, the actual road itself serves as a secondary drain,
Okay.
right? Because it's lower than all the houses.
Yeah.
So if
fine,
you've got
so
a
water
torrential
flows.
rain at all, yeah, so it doesn't, you don't end up having it pool. And you can see that the house is stepped a little bit, and you've got a little step to the porch,
Yeah.
a little step to the driveway.
Yeah.
So it's elevated.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a lot of thought.
Absolutely.
So in terms of mortgage partners, who are you partnered with? Do you offer mortgage partner payment plans for these properties?
Sure. So what we do, we offer up to 2 years for a payment plan. Because a lot of people don't want to take a mortgage. But at the same time, we're happy to work with any of the mortgage banks. We've got relationships with Stanbic, FNB, Republic Bank. I think those are probably the leading mortgage suppliers.
Yeah.
But we're open to work with any of the banks, really.
Okay. So I'd like to talk just a little bit more generally about Ghana's real estate industry and your experience in it. So have you found that there are a lot of people coming back? How do you feel the space is growing and moving right now?
I think it's a really exciting time.
Definitely.
I think there's like a huge kind of demographic upswell in West Africa. Like this is where populations are growing. So if you're in an urban area, you're seeing an expanding middle class. You just see it. There's a buzz. If you're in a place like Ghana, drive in any direction, you're going to see constructions, you're going to see children, you're going to see, and there are other parts of the world that are in demographic decline, right, where they're converting schools into hospitals because they know kids.
Yeah.
Right, and it's expensive to look after your kids if you're in the UK or different parts of the world. Not that it's inexpensive here, but there's still an emphasis on family and having children. So it's an exciting, you've got that upswell, and then you also have this moment, right, where a lot of folks in the diaspora are just understanding that it's possible to either move back full time or to at least have a foot in another country, particularly at a time when you've got a lot of challenges in the West, right? Yeah. So people are looking and they're saying, okay, the growth prospects in the UK, limited. They're coming to Ghana. They're seeing entrepreneurs who are thriving. And they're saying, okay, well, maybe there's an opportunity for me.
Yeah. So it's really exciting to see, actually.
Yeah.
So many people returning.
Yeah.
So what do you think the industry will be in, like, let's say 10 years?
Well, I mean, along those lines, right, you've got Ghanaians who are coming back with skills and resources. But you also have other West Africans who don't necessarily want the craziness of Nigeria, right? Or a lot of our other West African countries are a bit smaller, right? So they're just more comfortable here because it might be something similar to what they're used to.
Yeah.
So you're seeing even francophone West Africans that are coming from the States, ending up in Accra. Yeah, and then the historical diaspora as well, African Americans, who I think post year of return, there's a huge discovery moment where people have
come back and reconnected.
Yeah, and are saying, okay, well, look, we've been struggling with racism for 400 years in another country, right? And it literally disappears. You just as soon as you hop on a plane, it's a black country, and there's a huge psychological relief. Because sometimes it's actual racism, sometimes you're not sure how you're going to receive. And there are also things in Ghana that are just better, right? Like there's 30,000 handgun deaths in the U.S. Right, the wealthiest country in the world. Right, so clearly it's not a function of just lack, right? It's like maybe wealth distribution, or just certain violent aspects of their society. So people, I think, respond well to a place like Ghana. Not that we don't have problems,
Yeah.
right? But
So there's a sense of peace.
yeah, there's a
Yeah.
sense of peace, and there's also a sense of there's like a stability. It's, I think, kind of baked into our culture
Yeah.
that people respond well to. Right, so I think, even given the current economic challenges in Ghana, we've had issues with macroeconomic forces and currency and whatnot. But I think if you've got a longer view, I'm still very bullish on Ghana. And a lot of things we could be doing better.
Yes, definitely.
But I mean, irrespective of those challenges, it's a good bet.
Okay. So, you mentioned challenges. Are there a few challenges that you've encountered here in Ghana?
Probably more than a few.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think land tenure is a big challenge. Even as somebody who's been working on it for a quarter century, it's still difficult to navigate. I think being able to, one of the things that we're quite pleased with here is just the quality of the execution of the build.
Yeah.
And it would just not have been possible without having our partner company that has this huge amount of experience in building at a very high level. So my partner Stefan comes from a hospital construction background in Ghana, and has overseen massive budgets, right, and has been able to cherry pick the best subcontractors and the best vendors, right, and then has applied that to the issue of middle class housing in Ghana. Right, so that's been a wonderful partnership. It's been really helpful.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are challenges. There are challenges with finance, getting money from a bank. It's like, blood and stone to finance construction, particularly in this era.
Yeah.
Right. So we, as developers, basically self-financed. This development just constantly roll over the investment. Yeah, like we're really keen. We want to have. We see an opportunity, and we'd like to build thousands of houses. So we're very comfortable betting on ourselves.
Yeah. So I do want to talk a little bit about the eco-consciousness of the house and the ways in which you sort of considered the environment in the build. Can you speak a bit about that?
Sure. This house has been built to a green certification standard. We haven't bothered to go through the process yet because it's a very expensive process.
Yeah.
But we have built the house to make sure that we comply.
Yeah.
With the World Bank EDGE certification standards. So there are a lot of little elements that we have included, which actually it turns out to be savings for the homeowner. Right? So if you can spend less on cooling your home over the duration of the lifespan of the house, you could save a ton of money. I mean, like, one of the green features is the communal water supply. So instead of every house having its own water tank, we've got a communal borehole, right, that supplies the entire neighborhood.
Okay.
Right, so some of the green features aren't necessarily green in and of themselves, but they're just applying an approach that, say, so you're not having 12 poly tanks, you have 2.
Yeah.
Right, so you're kind of reducing the consumption there. We insulate the entire house.
Yeah.
So we've got a pre-engineered wall panel that's insulated. And then we've got insulation in the roof. And then we have insulate, like the roofing sheets themselves, we've moved away from the metal, which radiates heat, to UPVC, which reduces the amount of heat transfer.
Yes.
Right, so they're just different steps. So even in terms of things that aren't particularly green, like our concrete production, we produce our concrete products on site. So that reduces the amount of time and expensive transport. So whatever we can do to make the house greener, we do. We've got the solar units on the roof, and that comes standard. And like all 3 of my kids have asthma. So
me too.
Yeah, so it's just you don't want a scenario where you're having to fire up a gen set, right, just so the kids can do their homework, and then you've got this kind of like local solution. So we're like, if we could find a way to put in solar so you can run, even if you're not running all of your heavy appliances, there'll be enough power to run your lights and your fans. We've gone with the LED lights here. So they're 3 watts. So the kind of bulbs that we had when I was a kid, with the incandescent bulbs, literally one of those bulbs, the energy consumption for one would power the entire house in terms of lighting.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so the LEDs are a huge help.
That's really commendable, actually, yeah. Because I don't think a lot of people are thinking about the environment when they're building homes in Ghana. So it's really impressive to see that you've considered so much in the build. So I do also want to talk a little bit about some of the things that are offered outside this property in Pokwasi, right? So
Sure.
what's around? You know, are there hospitals? Are there shops? What can be found in Pokwasi?
I think it's an exciting neighborhood for a number of reasons. One, you're literally 2 kilometers from the interchange, which is like a $70 million piece of infrastructure. So just knowing how property works, that's going to double the value of homes in pretty short order. Right, so I think that's like kind of the centerpiece. But then you also have Ashburn Mall,
Yes.
which is right down the road. You know, it's a very short drive. And then I'm really pleased with the Fayette Hospital, which is a 4-minute walk from Pokwasi Heights. And this is the hospital that was built by the former CEO of Kollywood. So you've got a pretty high level of care, but literally walking distance from your community. And a number of little schools that are around, you know, and it's still very much kind of on the outskirts of Accra.
Yeah.
But you can see the direction that it's going in.
Okay. So typically, what kind of customer comes here? Is it families? Like, if you could give just a sort of overview of the type of person that might buy property here.
A lot of diaspora buyers. A lot of our buyers are based in the UK and also in the US.
Okay.
And I think it's now including the historical diaspora. So African Americans, Nigerian Americans, some Caribbean, UK diasporians have moved into the neighborhood. So it's a really lovely mix. The other thing too is that half of our buyers are women.
Oh, amazing! I love that.
Yeah. I mean, it was something that we kind of had a sense that maybe going that direction. And we about 3 weeks ago just looked at the data, and we're happy to see that over 50% of the deeds are on the women, and you know, some are married, you know, some are single, some are retirees. It's a mix.
Okay, amazing. It's been wonderful to speak to you. Thank you so much for having us here today.
Thanks so much for coming. I'm a big fan of Seso Global. I actually had the opportunity to participate in an event in New York.
Oh, amazing. How was it?
Fantastic. Well attended, beautiful location. So we're actually looking forward to doing something together in the UK.
Okay.
Probably in August or September.
Okay, amazing. Looking forward to that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.